Hey guys, welcome back to another video. On today's video, we will be installing an intake on the old Corolla Hatch. Saw it online, it was on sale, so I was like, might as well pick it up. Maybe we'll gain a little bit more horsepower and a little bit more MPGs. So any of that will be good. All of it's 170 horsepower, so maybe we'll notice it, maybe we'll not, but who cares? So let's take a look at which intake we got. As you can see by the box, we picked up the old Takeda, I don't know how you pronounce that one correctly, but we got their intake. So let's look at the parts. So as you can see, sitting on the top of the lovely trash can, we got all the parts of the intake. Looks like we have the cone, the whole housing, what do you call that? The transfer tube or whatever. Couple clamps. Looks like a rubber grommet of some sort, I guess you could call it. A new PCV pipe, and then the instructions, which we do not need, hopefully. Before we get to take it apart, let's do a sound check on the stock one, just so we can have maybe a comparison, see if it sounds any different. As you can see from that clip, the sound from the stock one sounds like a basic economy car. So maybe this intake will help spice it up a little bit. Actually get into the fun stuff and start putting it on. The first thing you want to do is you want to go around this front cover and start popping off all these little pop clips. Toyota has a really special design. I've never seen them on any other car. Instead of like pulling the middle out and then pulling the big thing out, you just press in this little middle part like this, and then, for example here, just pull out. So then after you get all the pop clips out, it should just come up very easily like that. So it looks like for this snorkel thing, you have 4 10mm bolts, one right there, there, and there it is. Now that those 4 bolts are out, it should be pretty simple to take out. It is, you just pull up and it comes right out. So the next thing you want to take out is this piece. I forget exactly what it's called. If you don't have the catch can, it'd be simple. It just comes straight from there onto there. So for that, you just take off this hose and then pull this thing off. So then after taking off that PCV hose and the little box right there, next thing you want to do is unhook your MAF sensor. It looks like you just press that clip up and then pull out. There it goes. Looks like you will need to detach it from back there too. But for now, let's unscrew this and get that out of there. And to take the MAF sensor out, just pull straight up. Okay, so like I said, that clip needs to come out, but to take that out, I'm gonna unhinge these 2 clips that hold the top of the airbox on. That way I can lift this airbox and get a better look at how to take that off. I don't know how well you can see it, even with the light. So there's this tab right in the middle that my finger's kind of pointing to. You pull that, you push that towards the side of the car, away from the middle of the car, if that makes sense. Pull it and it should just slide right out. Then after we unhooked this thing from the top of the intake, the last thing to do with the top here is to, if you can see under the wires, that Phillips head that's holding this rubber piece onto the throttle body. We need to unscrew that, loosen that up, and it should pull right off. Yeah, just with a little bit of pulling, pop right off. There's some solenoid attached to this rubber piece on the intake too, but this one's just pressed into this little piece of the rubber. So with pulling up, I think it should. There it goes. So it was a pain in the butt to get that out, but as you can see, it's just flat. So pull as hard as you can and it'll come right out. Shouldn't hurt anything. And after you get that top completely out, take the old filter out. Take out those two 10mm bolts after you get the filter out. So now that those two bolts are out, the whole stock bottom housing should just come up. Yep, there it goes. However, you will want to use some reuse some hardware from the old things. It's these two little grommets. So these two grommets, you pretty much you can either pull the metal sleeve out, but it's easier if you just pull by your hand and they just pop out. So before we start putting in the fun stuff, it's easier to assemble outside of the whole engine bay and then start putting in the assembled parts. So the first thing you'll want to do is put the filter onto the intake tube. So with that, make sure the clamp is on, and then pretty simple, just it'll kind of fit in there. You'll be able to tell when it's in. So it should be an 8mm socket, and just tighten that down. Then after you attach the filter to the pipe, you will want to put this like rubber piece on. So you want to put the bigger of the two clamps onto this side, and then as you can see on here, there's these kind of notches. Just put on this rubber the coupler. Said earlier, just slide them up to the notches until they're touching them. You can see they're touching the notches all the way around, and then you slide up your hose clamp and then tighten that down with an 8mm as well. After you get the coupler on and the cone on, it is time to put this little 3-degree elbow. It looks like they're both the same size, so you just put that in this piece of the coupler. Sure, the throttle body's right here, and back towards the car is where that PCV hose comes from, so you want to point it up. So then after assembling all that, it is time to put the old box in. Now before putting the box into the car, you will want to, like I said earlier, reuse the grommets. The easiest way, if you can see, just take out the metal, and just kind of put it in, go around. There you go. And just shove the metal back in. And it's ready. So we'll do that to the next hole. So let's put it in the car. It's kind of like pointing thing. And then there's like a metal grommet as well back here. You just pop that in. So after you get that popped in, you want to line up the two bolt holes down there and reuse the hardware from the OEM intake. The best way to get those two bolts in down there is I was just looking through this top like clear piece and just moving the box around, lining it up. And once you have one lined up, put that bolt in, just get it threaded a little and then start on the next. It's a little pain in the butt to get them started and all lined up, but once you do it, you're fine. So after you get that box installed, it is time to put this in. It is pretty simple. You just move the wires out of the way. As you can see, the rubber piece that has the cone, the actual cone that's onto the intake tube has these notches, rubber notches. So you'll want to press it in, you'll hear it pop, and then that's when you know. Now one thing I did forget to do, and hopefully you guys don't do this, is when installing it, I forgot to put that hose clamp around it first. But luckily I didn't put it all the way on the throttle body, so let's go put that on. So as you can see, we got that rubber grommet onto the throttle body. Right above my finger there's notches on that silver throttle body. So just make sure that rubber coupler is pressed up against all the notches all around the throttle body. And then you can use the hose clamp and tighten it all down. Then after getting the throttle body tightened down, it's now time to put the MAF sensor back in. Just make sure that connection point is facing back to the battery. Line up the holes. And then in the kit, it comes with 2 black screws, so we'll put those in. Now, one thing to know is screws are star bit, so make sure you do have a star bit. And then pretty simple, after you get done screwing those in, just plug that in. And this thing into that little rubber thing that's on the coupler. Getting that thing back on and all the tubes rerouted. It's time to start putting back on the snorkel with the engine tray, front bumper tray. If you had the no catch can, like I said, it would come from top of the valve covers and just come straight to that 90-degree fitting. But since I have the catch can, it runs, and then that's why mine looks probably a little different than the stock one. So you would use this stock PCV line, attach it right there, and just run it down to that 90-degree, so it kind of looks like something like that, you know what I mean? So when starting to reassemble the snorkel, they give us like that one thing I mentioned earlier, which is kind of like a grommet O-ring thing. You put it on there, so this snorkel tube fits nice and snug. So we got the snorkel back on. You just press it in there and then start lining up all the holes. So let's put these 4 bolts back in. We got all those 4 bolts back in. It's time for the cover. When you were taking them out, you had to press down that center. The way to reset them, you just push all the way up, push down by the thicker part, and just press that center part down. So now that we got the engine tray back in, the snorkel, and the full cold air intake, I think it's time for a sound test. So yeah, as you can see, this thing sounds pretty good. A lot better than stock. Definitely recommend it. Maybe I'll, by the time I upload this, I'll have a few butt dynos under me, so I'll tell you guys if I notice any power difference or any MPG difference.